Hello and welcome to the show. Now, when it comes to these silly car builds, I often try to find the vehicles with the craziest, oddest engine swaps that I possibly can. And I was browsing through the cars, looking for something to build. Came across the Mk3 Golf GTI. It comes with a VR6 engine, which is something a little bit different. And I wondered what engines would be able to be swapped into this car. And it's going to be unique. That much is for sure, because we are going to have a front-wheel drive car using, now these two engines fairly standard. Admittedly, the 2.6 litre i6 going for a front-wheel drive car, I think this might be the only car that would have that engine. The Turbo Rally engine, relatively common engine swap. Difficult to drive with a front-wheel drive, but a common engine swap. But no, we can get the 3-litre V8 racing engine, the Ariel Atom engine, in a front-wheel drive car. This Golf is the only front-wheel drive car that will have the V8 racing engine in it. I'm very curious to see how this will manage. Now, we have had a V8 front-wheel drive car before. The Volvo 850R would have, or did have, the NASCAR engine. So this isn't quite going to have the same crazy levels of power, but it's not going to be, hey, we've got a double wing. It's not going to be too massively far off, and still a unique engine and drive line combination is always interesting to me. It might be quite well suited being in a front-wheel drive car. I doubt getting on for 800 horsepower is going to be good for a front-wheel drive car. But you never know. In fact, the PI is actually shooting up here quite reasonably. We're up into S-Class already. 255 on the rear. I didn't actually pay it. I'm so used to paying attention on the rear tyres being the critical ones. I didn't see what we got. 255 at the front. That's not too bad a tyre widths, although that's still asking a lot of the front tyres to be putting all of that power through them. I'm expecting we're going to get to a point where the PI just stops going up because the car will be struggling too much to utilise its power. I think we might be on for a fastest front-wheel drive car, possibly. Certainly the cars that gone at Virginia, the 850R, went at brands in the older series, but the cars that have gone at Virginia, we've only had two front-wheel drive, the Fiesta XR2 and the Mini Cooper. I think this might fare a little bit better than either of them. It's going to be a tad heavier. I'm hoping perhaps a little bit more stable as well. We might not have it quite swap ends on us so quickly. It's also a bigger car in general. That longer wheelbase can probably help us with any twitchiness that we have going on. Roll cage being installed now, and weight reduction for the... we've started to get to the point now where PI increase is that little bit more difficult. I suspect as we go through the engine upgrades, not a huge amount of engine upgrades on this particular engine. It is relatively low on torque compared to some other engines. Again, that could help us in the long run have this car be manageable, have the car being drivable up to 760 PI. We're not quite going to get up to the Lamborghini's sort of level of PI that went out last time. Yeah, one PI from almost 40 horsepower increase. That's it. Yeah, it's really not. 41 horsepower, we've gone down PI because of the added weight. It's, 775 horsepower through the front wheels is going to be always an interesting one to try and manage. So, yeah, let's try and not crash the Golf. So, to test out this front-wheel drive V8 monster, we have come to the Virginia International Raceway. I will have 5 laps around the Patriot alternate layout in an attempt to go as fast as possible. Now, our current leaders, with their 107, their low 107s, are not going to be fearing the Volkswagen. This car's main competition, the other front-wheel drive vehicles. Fiesta XR2 Mini Cooper. The Fiesta has a 1:16.0, some 9 seconds down on the leaders. If we can go quicker than the Ford, I think we'll be doing quite well. Maybe we can challenge sort of the SUVs areas, that the mid to high 113s. That might be a tall order. While yes, this is much lighter, probably better under brakes than the SUVs. They were four-wheel drive and can deploy their power. While the power to weight ratio might not be as good in them, they can deploy their power a lot better. Ooh, I can get to full throttle. Fifth gear is quite friendly. I like fifth gear. In this car, I think we're going to probably stick it in fifth out the final corner. That could work, actually. Tyres, another thing to be wary of on this opening lap. It should sort itself out within a lap or so. Cold rear tyres are not the nicest of things. Admittedly worse on the shorter wheelbase cars. I don't really want to go playing in that puddle if I can help it, but it's not too bad for being dragged around by the puddle. I am surprised. We got away with that relatively well, and we're actually maintaining... Oh, there we go. That back end was just thinking about having a bit of a move around through there. Third gear, still got to be very... Oh, yeah, still got to be really careful. We're not going to be able to get to full throttle very often around this lap. That's not particularly surprising. Don't put a wheel on the grass, or the curb actually was threatening to drag me a little bit wide. Everything's going to have to be ultra smooth, I think, with this car if we're going to get any lap time out of it. It's going to be quite unspectacular, but it might just work. Now, can I go... I'm going to stick it fifth. Fifth gear. I can... As we sort of saw off the start line, if I go to fifth, I can actually be flat out down here, which is not bad. We do bounce across those bumps a little bit. I don't quite know where I want to stop. 153 miles an hour is actually pretty good, considering the difficulties we have getting the power down at that final corner. Yes, I managed to get it to full throttle, but with the sort of the turbos going on with this engine, it still wasn't going to be accelerating anywhere near optimum, shall we say, out of that final corner in that manner. We can do it controlled, so considering we lose all of the time and the speed essentially leaving that final turn, 153 isn't too shabby. The average speed we're sort of seeing is around the 170 mile an hour mark, and that's for high powered rear wheel drive cars. So yeah, it's doing, I think, quite remarkably well. It's not been twitchy. It's not trying to throw me against a wall. I'm trying to be brave through here. That might not work. That won't work. That won't work. Get off the grass. Bloody hell. Okay, we can't quite carry that much speed. We don't really have to go on the brakes into that corner because we're struggling to put the power down so much that we can just sort of have a little lift and it tends to sort itself out. Right, fourth gear. Can we get away with fourth gear, maybe making a little bit more? Oh, into 49. Hey, new fastest front-wheel drive car. How quick can I get this thing to be going? Okay, fourth gear and then change up to fifth. That does seem to work. Fourth gear, I can be flat out around the final turn. The other front-wheel drive cars, the likes of the Mini and the Fiesta, just spun the wheels, whatever you did, with the gears, whereas this I am actually able to make the most. We have seen that from a few cars. If they've got really tiny tyres, even if you do stick in the higher gears, you've still got issues of just sitting there spinning the wheels. But this car, good enough indeed to make the most of some of the power, at least, as we head through this next couple of corners. We're up. Could we get... I think 13s are going to be a little bit tough. I really do think. Trying to find a second on that last lap. I know we did run a little bit wide. Oh, I'm masking it a fair bit through here. We're holding it just about at... a wheel on the grass, but we're holding it just about at 90 miles an hour through that corner. We've seen rear-wheel drive cars struggling at around that sort of pace. This, despite all of the understeer, still got some decent corner grip. It's just that on-power understeer. That's where we have issues. Hey! I found the time of 13.9 from the Golf. I don't know if I'm going to find any more. We're going to give it a damn good shot. Maybe if we don't put a wheel on the grass, or we're probably looking at fractions. We run across the puddles through these opening corners. This is a really difficult circuit to drive. Part of the reason why I chose this location. Incredibly slow and twisty opening corners, and speeds up a little bit. Still relatively slow corners around here as we weave our way back up the hill. And for a car like this, with so much power going to the front wheels, you're asking a massive deal of the front tyres to try and negotiate your way around a course. I think we lose so much time on this part of the course. I'm just not able to get up to speed. I don't think any other vehicle I've driven has been able to go into this corner with just a lift. We did not end up on the grass, which is nice. but we're only managing to carry that sort of speed there. Well, I say that sort of speed. We only managed to get away with not braking simply because we're not being able to put the power down. Okay, fourth gear out of the final turn is working, and then as we start getting up in the revs, as we cross the line, yeah, go to fifth. Not a better lap, though, that time out. We've got a little bit of wheel spin as we bounce our way up towards turn one. Not too bad, though. When we've seen those bumps, the small light cars have had big issues across those bumps with the vehicles, especially the rear-wheel drive cars we've seen bouncing, some of them getting very, very close to spinning as you're trying to deploy power down there. This is not quite getting to that bad a level. We're not getting bounced off course as such. It's just bouncing it a little bit, causing it to wheel spin slightly. So something to be mindful of, but yeah, we're going to really throw it across the curbs. Got to be careful with the water, though, that sits behind the curbs. That can drag a car off course, although on the whole this has been pretty nice. Trying third gear out of there. But this is a corner that every single car, I think, has gone sideways, with the exception of the all-wheel drive Bentley. I've turned in too late. Oh, we're going to play on the grass. Damn it. Ah, bugger, we're a couple of tenths up. We're a couple of tenths up on that lap, and ran wide. It was going to happen eventually, just asking too much of the car, turning in too late there. Get the power down out of that final corner as we cross the line. Yeah, a scruffy final lap, unfortunately, from the Golf. Still, though, 13.9, considering all of the power and all that we are asking of the front wheels, that's not bad going. We shall have some celebratory reverse donuts, I think, most definitely, for this car. Yeah, remarkably drivable. I think a little bit longer wheelbase, some bit bigger tyres as well, all come together on this vehicle to actually make it not horrendously bad to drive. You do have to be very careful with the throttle. You tread a very fine line. You're a percent too much on the throttle, you're going to spin the wheels and go straight. But if you do tread that line, actually, yeah, not too bad at all. It's lap time. We'll put the car into 33rd place. It is just a fraction down on the Rolls-Royce Dawn, the Mercedes G-Wagon, half a second down on the Lamborghini LM002. It is right there. It is right there with the SUV and the giant heavy car section of the table, basically. Far quicker than we saw from the likes of the Fiesta. You know, we're talking 2 seconds quicker than the Fiesta, 4 seconds quicker than the Mini. Quite a reasonable, for an overpowered front-wheel drive car, quite a reasonable vehicle to drive, this one. Anyway, it is time to find out how quick it'll go in a straight line. Now, the Golf does not have the most power that we've had. That's probably one of the less powerful engine, least powerful engine I've probably put into vehicles in this series, so we're not going to be expecting crazy levels of straight line speed. And of course, the front wheel drive cars have traditionally struggled to put their power down. However, that does look pretty promising. The Volvo, the 850R, does have the current fastest speed for a front wheel drive car at 228 miles an hour. That did have the NASCAR engine, did have near enough 1,000 horsepower. The Golf is going to be close by the looks. Okay, maybe not quite with that gearing, it won't be, but the Golf does look to be, yeah, 226. It's not quite going to be able to beat the Volvo. I know this is all, benchmark and estimation of the speed. I've never seen a car go 2 miles an hour faster on Forza 6. We might struggle to put the power down. That is, of course, the main concern. Or with the front-wheel drive vehicle, the likes of the Mini and the Fiesta had plenty of power, but just span their wheels the entire way down the straight. The Volvo span its wheels the entire way down the straight, but it could put more of its power down to the road to make the most of that 1,000 or near enough 1,000 horsepower V8. The Golf, we shall have to wait and see what it'll do. Curbs here are quite nasty. Again, though, front-wheel drive car, if it does all look like it's going wrong, you can boot it. In fact, in that instance, I didn't because I was trying to slow down for the corner. But on the whole, yeah, booted it will straighten itself up is quite handy. Try and slow you down for these turns. Again, as I was saying, with the Virginia circuit, You can see the amount of throttle that I'm using. It's quite a lot, but it's if that you go just that fraction bit more and you get the wheel spin that just drags the car straight. That is when you're in trouble. That is what you are really trying to avoid with a car like this. Once we're up into 4th gear and we're on a nice straight, the car is good to accelerate away up to 175 miles an hour before it begins sort of the main straight here. We are going to pass the 200 mile an hour mark in our Golf. That is not bad going at all, and it's still pulling. We're up to 215 miles an hour. I don't know if we want to go to the 6th gear as we get to 220. We might be, with our gear ratios, a little bit on the wonky side. We're not in the limiter at 222 miles an hour, 223 now. I don't want to change up. There we go, 224, but it's only just as we start to hit the bumps. It's a big bounce across that section. It is quite neatly controlled though. It's not bounced in such a way to fire us into a wall. 224 miles an hour for the Golf. Kind of what I was expecting from the car, perhaps a couple of miles an hour down on the benchmark. Certainly not what I was expecting when I sort of set out with this build. 224 is a decent speed. Again, for a front-wheel drive car, we had no real problem with the wheels spinning so much anyway on this car. Did pretty well. That speed, the 224 miles an hour, is very, very good going. It will go into 38th place. Yes, it is a fair way down the table, but it is joint 38th place with the BMW X6M. The X6M had the 1,200 horsepower V12 in it. Yes, it is a giant SUV, but still, the Golf well down on power and front-wheel drive, BMW four-wheel drive. Golf, yeah, that's pretty damn respectable. It goes quicker than the Mercedes 280 SL, quicker than the Cadillac CT-SV, Subaru Brat, the rotary-powered McLaren 570S. It does, though, lose out to the Alfa Romeo 75. It's 4 miles an hour down on the record-setting Volvo 850R and the likes of the Porsche 944, Lamborghini Jalpa, and so on. So yeah, a very respectable showing in terms of straight-line speed, surprisingly controllable around the corners. All round, pretty good for a V8-powered front-wheel drive Golf. Really not that bad. However, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.